Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk and UK Astrologer. So hopefully you haven't been hiding under a boulder for the last few days and you might have heard about what we're going to be covering today. So I think the official term for it is a computer outage. But the official line is: on the 19th of July 2024, a faulty update to security software produced by CrowdStrike, an American cybersecurity company, caused widespread problems as computers and virtual machines running Microsoft Windows crashed and were unable to properly restart. Businesses and governments around the globe were affected in what has been described as the largest outage in the history of information technology and historic in scale. So as far as I'm aware, nobody has died yet because of it. It has caused problems in the UK where I live because all the software that doctors' surgeries use and pharmacies, they went clonk as well. So there were news items about doctors having to write prescriptions for people with a pen and paper, and I sort of had to sort of mentally chuckle there for a minute because I'm so old now. I can remember people had to do that, and there were no computers. And if nothing else, this crash that happened or caused the crash, this update to the software that didn't update and didn't go soft, it highlights how dependent the world is on computers, computer softwares and computer programming. Now, before I get into the charts, I'll just let you know that so today this is being broadcast on the 21st of July. I'm actually recording it on the 20th. So when I'm talking about yesterday, so yesterday was the 19th, I went to Bristol on the train to see my son. So we'd organised it the day before, the morning of yesterday. And the news item had sort of come out and stuff, and I thought, oh well, I'll just drive down to got an electric motorbike, I'll just drive down to the train station and see how much chaos there is there, and are the trains running, and blah 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 blah. Normally I buy my train ticket online and go and pick it up from there. I thought, well, if the computers aren't working, I'll go and get a physical ticket, which is what I did. And they were making announcements and the trains were still running, because trains are physical things. So a few trains here and there throughout the day on the line that I use, which is GWR, and I live in Bath and my son lives in Bristol. On the return journey, when I came back later in the evening, there were, I think about at least a train was cancelled while I was stood at the station, and then the one that I was going to get on was delayed by about 10 minutes, no big deal. And but what happened because of this, the software that all these organisations use, and so many of them use Microsoft, this wasn't a Microsoft thing, this was a company called CrowdStrike, and they offer, what's the official term for it, so they make sure that if you're using Microsoft, you can't get hacked into. Now, I myself use a Mac. Don't ask me why, I can't remember why I got a Mac to start with, but I do. I have got a teeny little laptop. It doesn't function anymore, and that used to run on Windows. But I use a Mac, and it didn't affect anything Mac-wise as far as I know, because people... Oh, that's right, my husband had gone shopping and he was in Waitrose, and the Waitrose serve yourself tills, they had gone clonk, and then member of staff was shouting out to people in the queues, is anybody banking with blah 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 blah. My husband put his hand up and said, I bank with blah blah blah. So they got him over and tried his card on the machine because the self-service machines were working. So it caused an awful lot of disruption. As I was very lucky, it barely affected me at all, just a tiddly bit. But in other countries, other countries, the UK included, it's affected airlines and anything that's got a computer in it. There was reports about it's going to affect people's salaries, especially if you're paid weekly, and boom, horrible. Now, obviously, being an astrologer, I'm really interested in the time that it happened. And as I've said before in the podcast, and I'll say it again, this is where Wikipedia comes into its own. It's run by volunteers, people that are fanatical about getting things, especially if some new thing hits the news. Wikipedia editors, they're called, will immediately go onto Wikipedia and start writing stuff, etc. So we have the exact time. Now, at the moment, Wikipedia has titled it 2024 CrowdStrike Incident. It's under discussion, the title, and not allowed to edit it. I think they put a stop on the page to stop people from changing the name of it, but whatever they eventually call it, I don't know. But it's pretty big. It's worldwide, and I read somewhere that it's, I don't know, some thousands of millions of computer things and businesses and whatever are going to be affected by it, because it was affecting payment systems. That's why my concern was, well, if I got down to the train station, would I be able to buy a ticket? I got a physical ticket, but when you can scan your phone, those scanny things weren't working. I've got a physical ticket that I went into the machine and it let me in. In fact, at the train station, they'd opened all the barriers anyway, because the barriers, again, are computer controlled, and if they're shut, then on a day like that, then you'll have people backing up and getting squished. So quite rightly, they were standing there and checking people's tickets physically, but they weren't. The barriers were open. Hopefully she can get on and off the platform. But actually, where I went to park my motorbike, that was disconcerting. I went to park my motorbike and they've changed the place where I park it. So now there's a great big barrier, an electronic barrier that is operated by AI. And the barrier, I wouldn't be able to slip my bike underneath it. I used to be able to slip my bike round it, and all the other motorbikers did that. No. They made the barrier go right across the car park now. And I had to push a button and get somebody to let me in physically, because their system wasn't working. It was So let's talk about the facts, shall we? Now, Wikipedia has given the time that the error occurred, and they've said on the 19th of July at 4:09 UTC, which is called Universal. I think it stands for Universal Time. Hold it. UTC stands for Coordinated Universal Time. Well, why are they calling it UTC? It's the way you say it's the other way around. It drives me crazy with things like that happen. So now, when you make a chart with astro.com, it will always convert the time that you've used to what's called universal time. So UTC is basically an abbreviation for universal time. So now that's different from Greenwich Mean Time. It's different from the time zone that you might live in. It's a time that actually exists and means that it's the same time all over the world. So that if you're driving an aeroplane and you are going through time zones or whatever, you're going to have that universal time, and it's used for aviation, it's used for rockets going up into space, and I'm not too sure if they use it for marine. Now, I've seen a number of people on social media that have done the chart for this event, and they've done the time, which they're saying the time is 4:09, and different countries are going to have universal time. 4:09 is something different. So Auntie Mary, you'll be very pleased to know I have just driven myself crazy today finding out what 0409 UTC would be in 4 different locations, because this computer outage, it's the official term, affected lots of different countries, but all at the same time, but their local time is different. So in Europe, it was early in the morning. In the USA, it was late in the evening. In Hong Kong and India, etc., it was lunch. Sorry, India, it was mid-morning, and I've done Hong Kong, and it was lunchtime. So that end of the world. I haven't done New Zealand or Australia, and I apologise profusely, but I was getting a bit of a headache. I thought 4 charts would be enough to make the point. Now, as you know, with astrology, if we're going to do a chart, where are we going to use a location for something like a bit of computer software going clonk? So I thought what I'd choose would to do the 409 universal time and locate it where the company itself, they're called CrowdStrike, and they're located in Austin in Texas. So I did the maths. It took me ages to be able to do it. So the local time to somebody, because you can imagine there's the bloke there, maybe it was a woman, who was the tech, he's doing the update, and I love the way they've described on Wikipedia what happened. So it says here, background, they CrowdStrike produces a suite of security software for businesses, and it's used a lot, Microsoft. They've got a Falcon sensor product, which is CrowdStrike's vulnerability scanner, installs an endpoint sensor at the operating system on individual computers. Now you've fallen asleep, okay, but let me translate into English. So they distributed an update for this Falcon software for Windows PCs and servers. And the update had a configuration file that was responsible for doing something else that caused, inverted commas, a logic error with the Windows sensor client. I'm not a techie, I have no idea what that means. And it affected it, and so everybody got the blue screen of death. So someone at CrowdStrike must have sent this update to this Falcon sensor product and either hit the wrong button or wrote the wrong bit of code or had too much to drink or was half asleep. Can you imagine being that member of staff? There will be, I don't think this has done it itself, there will be some poor little bod somewhere whose mates are having a go at him, or you're the one that caused the computers all around the world, Microsoft computers, not Macs, all around the world to go clonk. So it was an update, it didn't update, it just caused all the computers to go p'dumph, and then the side effect was that it made all the computers reboot all the time and kept crashing and rebooting and crashing and rebooting and crashing. Can you imagine? That must have been an absolute nightmare for the businesses and the people they affected. So, oh God, really worse. And look what it's done. And the point I wanted to make was, back in the day, we did things manually. We had pieces of paper and pens, and we wrote things down. You might remember this. Not everything was, we had notes. You went to a shop and you gave a piece of paper, and somebody gave you some coins in exchange. You got to sort of remember, I did read a wonderful book a while ago about a bloke. He said that we'd gone a little bit too far with money, that we should have cash, that to make everything online. Things like this, it can be affected by that. All it takes is some idiot. Now, this was somebody that made a mistake. This wasn't ransomware. This wasn't somebody hacking into any systems. This was just an update that went wrong, and as I say, the poor person who did it must be feeling so I was thinking, well, let's do the update date and time and do it for Austin, Texas. Now 409 universal time in Texas is actually 11:09 p.m. So this is somebody in the office working quite late at night, and this will be on the 18th because the crash happened early in the morning on the 19th. So it went all over the world, and whatever. But they're just going to bed where they live in their time zone. So 4:09 universal time for, trust me, I've triple checked this, the 19th of July is actually 11:09 p.m. in Austin in Texas on the 18th. So don't go looking at the chart going, oh, Mary got the wrong date. And then Auntie Mary has converted all of this. I've given myself a total headache today to make it correct for you. So the poor bod who did it, what was the ascending sign? And when I created the chart, and I've used equal house for every chart except one today, the ascendant sign, I had to look at that and giggle, is actually Pisces. So of all the signs of the zodiac that can get the most confused signs of the zodiac now, it's Pisces. And what's on the ascendant? Saturn retrograding in Pisces. It was 11:09 p.m. in Austin, Texas on the 18th, Thursday the 18th of July, is Pisces ascendant of 18 degrees and 18 minutes, and Saturn is 19 degrees 7 minutes retrograding. So it's going to retrograde back, over the next couple of days. Saturn is going to continue to retrograde back on this chart that I've created. So if we're saying that this first chart that I'm putting on the podcast is the actual chart for the actual event itself, which will not be the same. I've seen people using different countries and having different ascendants. That's how it's affected other places. This is where it probably happened, because that's where the company's based and all their bods are there. Obviously, people work from home and they might work from home from other countries, but the company itself is based there, right? Pisces ascendant, Saturn retrograding. I don't know if Saturn conjunct. No, it's not conjunct anything other than the ascendant. And it's 19 degrees retrograding. Oh, I thought, yeah, confusion. So the ruling the ruling planet to a Pisces ascendant chart is Neptune. Neptune's in the first house, also retrograding. Neptune and Saturn aren't conjunct. They're 10 degrees apart at the moment. And because Saturn's going to retrograde faster than Neptune, they're not going to meet up again until Saturn starts going direct again. But I mean, if you want to cause a confusion, do it under a Pisces ascendant. Eek! In that particular chart. Now, all the chart shapes are going to be the same. There's a yod in it, and the yod is uniting. Now, a lot of astrologers, and I agree with them, that this has happened also because of Mars and Uranus conjuncting. So Uranus is the planet of computers and stuff, and Mars is, action, aggression and energy. Mars isn't retrograding, but it is pretty much conjunct to Uranus, because Uranus is 26 degrees and Mars is 28. And the chart I'm going to show you in a minute is you're going to see even more. So of the chart itself, so if we're saying this is the event chart, this is the poor bod at his desk, him or her, they're at their desk, wherever they are, they're pushing the thing. Oh, update goes out. It's all going to be lovely, bubbly, jubbly, and it doesn't flipping happen. The ruler to the chart is in the first. If we're saying the old ruler back in the day is in the third. What's third? All about communications, yeah. Now, the squares we've got in there is Moon square Saturn and Jupiter square Saturn. So Jupiter and Saturn squares. There's going to be a lot of money lost, for sure. Things have crashed on the stock market. The company itself is going to, I don't know if it'll go under, I doubt it. They're big enough. Somebody's going to forgive them. We've got Moon square to Neptune. Ooh, yeah. The Sun's in the 5th. Mercury is in Leo. Is that right? Mercury's in Leo in the 6th. So for the person that's doing it, the actual moment they do it, you can't really get back from a Saturn retrograde and a Neptune retrograde near to your ascendant in your first house. You're not going to get out of that easily. It's going to take a little bit of unraveling. And there's a lot of squares to the moon. The sun's only squaring the Chiron. I don't know that I'd really take Chiron into account. But in this chart, you'll see that the moon is conjunct the MC, which makes me wonder, was it a woman that did it? You hear these funny stories about people doing experiments and things, and then the cleaner comes in and knocks something over and all their work goes down the chute. But the moon is 27 Saggy, and the MC in this particular chart is 22. Yes, it's very near to it. So whoever did it's going to feel emotional. You've got to feel sorry for that poor person. They didn't do it on purpose. And then you think, well, if something like that can happen by accident, what happens if somebody does something intentionally? And this company was set up to make sure that those things can't happen. And they're the one, and they made it happen. All the computers got flonk. The sun is directly opposition to Pluto. Dom, 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 dom. So the sun is 27 degrees Cancer, and Pluto's 0 degrees. That's retrograded all the way back. Look at that. Pluto's back to, well, it was 0 degrees. I don't think it got, it did get as far as 1 degree. So it's 0 degrees, Aquarius, 57 minutes, 59 seconds. Mercury's square to Mars as well. So if we're taking that as an event chart, it's not looking very happy, is it? You've got to take into account the ascendant there is Pisces, okay? Now, so how's it affecting other countries? Now I'm going to do London next, because I live there. And 4:09 Universal Time in UK time at the moment, because we've got daylight blunking saving, is 5:09 a.m. So this happened overnight, and we didn't hear about it until we got up in the morning. And I think various different airports have got problems, and the things weren't updating, because at airports they can't have as many people running the place as there are customers. They have to have a computer. There's just too many people travelling. Next flight, going here and there, the flight boards and stuff. So in the UK chart, when this happens, the sun is now conjuncting the ascendant, and the ascendant is Cancer. The sun's just coming up. The ascendant is 26 degrees. The moon is in the 6th, and that's how it affected the UK the most, was the medical systems. So yes, there were problems with the planes, but the thing that's been the most on the news was various different GP surgeries saying that they couldn't write prescriptions for people, and they couldn't even do blood tests, get the results of blood tests, because they were on the system. Because in the UK they've got I can find out exactly what it was if you're interested. Hold on 1 second. Now everything on Wikipedia is going to change in the next few days, but there's healthcare. Many hospitals across North America pause. Britain's National Health Service. I didn't think we were called Britain anymore. I thought we were called the United Kingdom. Anyway, the NHS said that issues are causing disruption in the majority of GP practices, with some of the services, such as GP surgeries, which rely on a software product called EMIS Web, unable to view and manage medical records, issue and manage prescriptions, or make appointments. The London Ambulance Service experienced an unprecedented surge in 999 and 111 calls following the outage, responding to 4,500 emergency calls by 5 o'clock. So I don't know why having that has made a lot of people then want to ring for an ambulance. Got no idea. But the complexity of something like that, if you're running a pharmacy, for instance, and you've got to go online and order stock. I mean, it's bad enough during Brexit when various different drugs had to come from other countries to the UK. I've got a friend who works in what we call a chemist shop, but in the US they call it a pharmacy, and in Europe they call it a pharmacy. She works there, and she said things were just getting delayed, just sat at the docks, can't get here, blum blum blum, and now they've got this as well. And there was a GP and general practitioner, doctor, came on the news and said, just please be kind. We're doing the best we can. They only 2019 had COVID, 2020 had the COVID crisis. and now they've got all their computer systems going clonk, which they rely on. And they were saying they had to physically write out prescriptions and then get people to take them to a chemist. And back in the day, I worked in a chemist shop. You'd hope that the GP that wrote the prescription, you could read their handwriting, because if you didn't, you'd have to sort of phone them up and say, what did you write? Not that I ever did a prescription, I just worked in the chemist. Okay, so London had got Cancer ascendant, ruling to the ascendant is the moon. Moon's in the 6th. It affected the UK health. Okay, India. Virgo ascendant, ruled to the ascendant Mercury. Mercury's located in the 12th house, dreams, hidden stuff. I'm not too sure how it affected India the most. Let's just check, see what Wikipedia says. Hold on 1 minute. What happened in India? Okay, in India, it was airlines. Airlines were cancelled because they used Microsoft Azure for all their services, so that went flonk. But you've got a Virgo ascendant there, and the ruler to Virgo is Mercury. Mercury's located in the 12th. Do you know what house it'd be for? I would have thought travel would be the 9th house, because the MC in that chart, the India chart, the MC's in the 9th, and Jupiter's there, and Jupiter's conjunct to the MC, but Jupiter's not retrograding. But you've got the Mars and the Uranus there. So, okay, so that's travel then. Long distance travel is the 9th. Okay, I'll let you off. But that's not the ruler to the ascendant, but there is stuff going on in the MC in the 9th house. And the moon is in the 4th in that chart. So the point I want to make is I've done the chart for the same universal time and used different countries. And if you look at those charts, because I'll stick them on the show notes. And by the way, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please don't write nasty comments on there. The charts never appear on YouTube. You will have to ping over to where my podcast is located, and I'll give you the exact address. Astromary, ASTROMARY .libsyn, says LIBSYN.com, and on there all the podcast episodes are there, and all the charts that you've ever heard me talk about are all located there. So I did have somebody on YouTube that was a little rude, so I removed their comment, and if they make another rude comment, I'll remove that again. So you can see the charts. So the last one I'm just going to share with you, but the point I want to make is that we've got different ascendants for that universal time in different countries. So all the planets are in the same sign. So the sun's still 26 degrees Cancer, the moon is still 27 degrees Sagittarius. But because we've got different locations, remember your astrology now, we're going to have different ascendants. So therefore the planet's going to be different locations. There's still going to be that yod, but everything's going to be shaped in different ways. So the Hong Kong chart, it took me ages to find out how to do that, because of astro.com and the way they list things. I just did Hong Kong as the whole of Hong Kong. I couldn't find the airport, so it's reasonably okay. Libra ascendant, and the sun is conjunct to the MC. So Libra ascendant, the ruling planet, that's Venus, and Venus is in the 10th. So their local time was 12:09 p.m. and I'll just read you how it affected them the most. So again, it's their airlines. Hong Kong International Airport experienced delays during check-ins, resorting to staff members using handwritten signs to direct passengers to different check-in counters. The airport authority activated emergency response after the airline websites and automatic check-in malfunctioned. There's going to be, side effects of all of this is going to go on for days. So the Hong Kong chart, Libra ascendant, ruler Venus in the 10th is business. The MC is now in the 10th with the Sun and Venus. So I expect businesses are probably affected the most. In this case, obviously airline businesses rather than necessarily passengers. Obviously the passengers are affected. But if you cancel and you're an airline authority or an airline and you cancel your flights, You've got to give refunds to people. You can lose loads of money. And the moon falls into the 3rd on that one. And so the offending planet, the one that inverted commas caused it all, which is Saturn retrograde in Pisces in the 5th in the Hong Kong chart. So you can make the chart for where you live and see how it's affected you, inverted commas, locally. Remembering, of course, that you're going to have to use the universal time of 4:09 in the morning of the 19th of July. Now, who are we going to blame? Well, we can't blame any individual because no one's going to put their hand up and say I was the person that sent the wrong update. So I found the details for George Kurtz. He's the guy that owns the company. And say the company's called CrowdStrike, and he himself was born on the 5th of May 1965 in Parsippany in New Jersey in the USA. Don't have a birth time, so I've done whole sign for him. So I thought, well, if you're the CEO of the company that's just gone and clonked everybody's operating systems all over the world, other than China, because they don't use our stuff, neither do Russia. They don't use Microsoft. Probably got their own systems anyway. And you're the CEO of this company. Surely something's going on in your chart. One would expect. And blow me when I looked at his chart. Ooh, he's having a Saturn return. And that would be the Saturn return from hell. So natally, he was born with his lovely Saturn in Pisces, 14 degrees. So he's had his Saturn return because Saturn is now 19 degrees. So he had that 5 degrees ago, except now it's retrograding. So, if you were, how long is this going to affect the poor man who's a sun sign Taurus? And moon in Cancer, how long is it going to affect him? It's going to affect him for quite a while. In fact, I'll make a prediction. I expect if he's got Saturn natally 14 degrees, and this, I personally think the planet that inverted commas did it was Saturn. So somebody wasn't being, when Saturn's retrograding, you have to be careful about what it is you're responsible for. And maybe this person who did this update was responsible for the updates, and they just, that late at night, they had too many cappuccinos and they weren't concentrating. Or maybe they didn't have enough cappuccinos. If his natal Saturn, which will be 14 degrees and 56 minutes, that ain't going to shift much in a day from 6 a.m. I expect it's going to carry on giving him a headache until it gets back to 14 degrees 56, which is round about the 23rd of September this year. And what are we now? We're July. So he's going to have the kickback from that going on for at least a couple of months. Poor chap. And also, look at that. So he's a sun sign Taurus, and Uranus and Mars retrograding, but not, sorry, retrograding. Uranus and Mars transiting are conjuncting his natal Venus. So it's going to affect him. Venus is about love, but it's also about money. I'm sure it's going to affect him financially. I don't know if they're going to chuck him off the board. His natal Venus is 20 degrees and Mars transiting is 28. So it's just within orb. And Uranus is 26. So Uranus is really smacking into his Venus. And Venus is his ruling planet. Don't know where his ascendant is, but it's the ruler to Taurus. I've got the moon at 6 a.m. is 6 degrees. It could be either way. So it could be an earlier degree than that or later degree, but I expect he's got moon in Cancer. Don't know. But I reckon it's that Saturn return. It's like, oops. I mean, he's natally got Neptune, 18 degrees Scorpio. So is Uranus transiting directly opposite that? His natal Venus is, so transiting Uranus and Mars are going to be opposite his natal Neptune, which is in Scorpio, and they're both in opposition. Well, not both of them, because it's using that as an ascendant. They ignore that ascendant. It's the Sun's opposition Neptune. Venus is opposition Neptune. Ooh. because I read a little article earlier that he claims he started programming video games on his Commodore when he was in 4th grade. He went on to build bulletin board systems in high school, and he graduated from Seton Hall University with a degree in accounting. So there we go. I think he also races cars. He's got Pluto, Uranus, Mars conjunction. He's got them, Pluto and Uranus retrograde. He's got 3 of his outer planets retrograde: Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. Ooh. He's had a Jupiter return. I wonder if the North Node would be right for that day, because the North Node's 14 degrees Jupiter and 14 degrees Gemini, and Jupiter's exactly conjunct that transiting at the moment. But yeah, that's not a very nice Saturn return, is it? Eek. So that's George Kurtz, who is the CEO and owner of CrowdStrike, the company that sent the update that made all of these things go kalonk. So that's today. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you've got any comments, as always, do send me an email, mary@maryenglish.co.uk. You can find me on the internet, www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk. You can find me on Instagram. Come find me on Instagram. Come. And on Instagram, I'm maryenglish.co.uk is my Instagram. Okay. Or am I? Oh, are the dots in there? Hold on, let me just double check. Yes, I did put the dots in. I was like, did I? Yes, so my Instagram name is maryenglish.co.uk. Now, I also need to plug the Astrological Association of Great Britain. They have a conference coming up this year, so it's just a little plug at the end of the podcast. Now, I'm now a trustee. I got voted in. It's very exciting. I'm now a trustee for the Astrological Association, and we have a conference this year. It's the 56th annual conference, and it's from Wednesday the 28th of August to Sunday the 1st of September. So I will put a link on the podcast. You can pop over there and have a look. I'm only doing something teeny there. I'm doing a little talk about houses, because I do love houses, because I wrote a book about equal house. So I'm doing a little talk for beginners. So I'm doing the beginner track, and I'm doing a little talk about houses. The rest of the time I'm going to be running around helping people do stuff. Now, it's physically in a place called Hinckley, which is a 20-minute drive from Coventry, which is up the map from where I live in Bath. And there's going to be a one-day excursion to the National Space Centre. Eek. Exciting. And a lot of the conference is online, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you'll also be able to attend. And there's fabulous speakers, so do have a look. And if you're going, I'll be there, so seek me out. So if you're going to come along, and I say the dates are the starts, you don't have to come on that date, but Wednesday the 28th to Sunday the 1st of September. Most people do the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going up there for the Thursday. I think I'm going up Thursday. Yes, I'm staying Thursday night. But yeah, check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. And if you want to, because you can't see it, go to astrologicalassociation.com. So you have to spell association with 2 S's. I always found that one hard. But if you go to the astrologicalassociation.com website, you'll see the link on there for the conference, and there's loads more details. And it will be online as well, so it doesn't matter if you're in another country, you'll still be able to join us. So I hope you have a fab week, and I'll be back next week. Bye-bye now.